Hey, let's talk about something real. As the holidays get closer, with all the lights and the music, there's this pressure, right? A pressure to feel a certain way. But what happens when you just don't? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into today.
You know the feeling, right? You see all the decorations, you hear the festive music everywhere, but inside, something just feels a little bit off.
And then you open up social media, and oh boy, it seems like literally everyone else is starring in their own perfect holiday movie, and you didn't get the script.
But here's the thought. What if that quiet, kind of melancholy feeling wasn't a sign that you're doing something wrong? What if it was just a sign that you're, human?
Yep, that feeling actually has a name, the holiday blues. And it turns out it is incredibly common. So let's start by decoding exactly what that means and why so many of us feel it.
And that right there is the key word, contrast. The holiday blues really live in that gap between the nonstop joy we're told we're supposed to feel and the complicated, messy reality of how we actually feel. It's that weird sense of emptiness, even when you're in a room full of decorations and cheer.
And get this, if this sounds familiar, you are so not alone. A 2021 report from the American Psychological Association found that a whopping 38% of people, that's nearly 2 out of every 5 of us, feel their stress levels actually go up during the holidays. And the top culprits? Things like loneliness, the financial strain of it all, and let's be real, complicated family dynamics. See, this isn't a personal failure, it's a totally shared human experience.
Okay, so the big question is, why? Why does the so-called most wonderful time of the year sometimes feel, well, not so wonderful? Turns out, the reasons aren't some big mystery. They basically fall into psychological, social, and even environmental buckets. Let's unpack them.
First up, there's this mountain of pressure from our own expectations. We're surrounded by these images of flawless dinners and perfect, happy families. And our social media feeds, they're like a highlight reel on overdrive. A 2022 study in the Journal of Affective Disorders actually backed this up, finding that all this social comparison can make us feel pretty low. Our real, sometimes messy, sometimes quiet holidays can feel like they just don't measure up.
And then there's something totally out of our control, the actual sunlight, or, the lack of it. For a lot of people, the shorter, darker days of winter can trigger something called seasonal affective disorder, often called the winter blues. The National Institute of Mental Health says this affects about 5% of adults, especially the further you get from the equator. Now, this isn't the exact same thing as the holiday blues, but it definitely doesn't help. It can zap your energy and mood, making all those other holiday pressures feel way heavy.
All right, we've talked about the what and the why, but now for the really good stuff. What can we actually do about it? The great news is you don't need some grand sweeping plan. Think of these next few ideas as a practical toolkit for building a holiday season that's a little bit gentler and cozier for you.
It pretty much boils down to 4 simple but super powerful ideas. First, just giving yourself permission to feel whatever it is you're feeling. Second, dialing back the expectations for a perfect holiday. Third, actively taking care of yourself with small, personal routines. And finally, finding ways to connect with others, but on your own terms.
First things first, and this one is so important, just let yourself feel what you're feeling. Seriously. Fighting against sadness or telling yourself you shouldn't feel this way is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It's just exhausting. I love this quote from psychologist Susan David because it's so true. The goal isn't to never feel sad, it's to not let those feelings get stuck inside. And when we talk about self-care, we are not talking about some huge, expensive, complicated thing. It can be as simple as making a new, tiny tradition that's just for you. And that gratitude journal idea, that's not just fluff. Real research from Harvard shows that consistently taking a moment to notice what you're grateful for can actually increase your happiness. Just jotting down 3 good things can start to shift your whole perspective.
So, as we bring this all together, here's the main takeaway I want you to remember. Navigating the holiday blues isn't about forcing a smile or pretending everything's perfect. Not at all. It's about being kind to yourself, especially when you're not feeling 100%. It's about choosing small, comforting actions over big, stressful expectations.
Because really, the best gift you're going to get this year won't be wrapped in paper. It's the one you give to yourself. Kindness, a little bit of patience, and a whole lot of compassion. That's the one that truly matters. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Forget the big, overwhelming stuff. What's one small, simple personal joy that you can create just for you this holiday season? Whatever it is, I really hope it brings you a moment of peace. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today.